Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival. Oh, hopefully we're live. Trying to do this Zoom thing again so I can share screens. Hopefully it works. If it does, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully it's all good. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Anyone? Bueller? All right. So anyway, we're gonna get rolling here while we're waiting for folks to pop in. You guys, let me know if you can hear me okay. 6 apple pies could save your life. So I was thinking that I've talked to you guys quite often about meeting with your neighbors and the importance of, thanks, Jared, and the importance of meeting with your neighbors and getting to know them and all that kind of thing. And so I was thinking that I've talked to a bunch of people about this, and they all say, like, well, I just don't really know how I would go and talk to them. I don't know what I would say. We don't have anything in common. We're, like all these kinds of things, right? And hey, Sheila, thank you. And so I was thinking what you could do is you could go and buy a few sacks of apples and then make a bunch of apple pies, and then take the apple pies out and just say, hey, I got a good deal on some apples. I didn't want them to go to waste. Hey, what's going on, Denise? So I made you guys an apple pie. And then, if they act weird about it or whatever, be like, well, I'll eat a piece with you if you want. But then at least you would be able to have a reason to go out there and talk with them and get to know your neighbors. And the reason it's important is because if there's some kind of situation that's bad, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of news articles here in a little bit, so you guys can stick around for that if you want. But it's possible that maybe some point in the future things might go bad, and you really need to know your neighbors. And you not only can you help each other with situations, you can trade with them, and like, hey, I need some sugar, do you got some flour, do you got whatever. You can do that kind of thing. But also if it turns into a worst case scenario kind of thing and you formed a relationship with them, they might hesitate in breaking into your house and stealing your stuff. And maybe they'll go to somebody else's house first because they already know you and have a relationship with you or something like that. So maybe it'll give you a little tactical advantage in the worst case scenario. But I think more than that, it's just important to have a group of people to rely on when times get tough. All right. So that's why we've got the 6 apple pies could save your life on the title there, because it's just an idea, and I thought that maybe it would be worthwhile. So all right, now we're going to look at some news stories. And if you guys got questions, hey, what's going on, Morris Venture? Julie, how you doing? If you guys got questions, if you want to talk about anything, current events, whatever the case may be, stick them in here, put them in all caps, or do a super chat, or put out Reality Survival or something so I stand out a little bit. Otherwise, I'm gonna try to talk about these let's see here, these news stories. I think this will work. Let me see here. Okay, so this is Russian reset. Putin is signaling an end game to the Ukraine war. This is on PJ Media. And essentially, what the Russian government's come out and said is hey, we've essentially accomplished the first phase of our operation, and now we're going to kind of pull back and worry about securing the Donbass region. And that is a signal that, because clearly that wasn't their initial goal, right? And this is all just my opinion, right? I'm off duty. This isn't the opinion of DoD or anything like that. You can see the disclaimer in the description below. But that clearly wasn't their initial objective. It doesn't seem that way based on the way that they went in. But they've said that they want to demilitarize, and so that phase has been largely accomplished. Now they're going to shift down to the Donbass region, and to me, that is a big signal that the NATO and all the other governments in the world should say, hey, let's use this to give this as an opportunity to de-escalate, right? Because obviously this isn't a great situation for anybody. And so we would like to, try to get this thing to stop at some point if we can. So that happened. And then I want to read a tweet from the POTUS, his office. And I'm just reading off of a screenshot on Twitter. And it says, "We are engaged in a new great battle for freedom, a battle between democracy and autocracy, between liberty and repression. This battle will not be won in days or months either. We need to steel ourselves for the long fight ahead." And this happened right about the same time. I don't know exactly which one came out first, but it was right about the same time that this whole story broke over the weekend. And I found that interesting because that tweet doesn't really sound like something that is de-escalating. It sounds like to me that they're expecting this is going to be a long-term thing. And so the reason I bring that up, not really to comment one way or another on it per se, it's more along the lines of, from a prepping perspective, if you guys have been thinking about doing something, if you've been experiencing anxiety about all this stuff that's going on, but you haven't been doing things like going down the list of things that need to be accomplished in order to be a little bit more self-sufficient, like stacking food to the rafters, water purification, power generation, medical supplies, those kind of things. You really should do it, because I think that the government is telling us, hey, we're going to be in this for a while. And so we need to be ready for it. So, you can kind of interpret that however you want. But I think it's pretty significant. Okay, so this is talking about central bank. This is over on, last one was PJ Media. This is Zero Hedge. And this is talking about the central bank digital currency. And I just want to read a little bit about this. I'm not going to go too crazy on it because we've talked about it for a long time, but it says around 90 central banks are either in the process of experimenting with or are already piloting central bank digital currencies. Did you know that? Because I didn't know that. 90 central banks? That's a lot. I knew there were several, but I didn't realize there were 90. In a world of just over 190 countries, that's a large contingent. But given they include the European Central Bank, which alone represents 19 Euro area economies, the actual number of economies involved is well over 100. They include all G20 economies and together represent more than 90% of global GDP. Okay, so let's just break that down real quick. Basically, 90% of the governments in the world are moving to a central bank digital currency. And it would be reasonable to suspect that they're going to be interoperable amongst, friendly nations who are also doing the same things. That's a big deal. That's a huge shift in monetary policy across the world that they're telling us is coming, and it's coming soon. So you need to think about that. And the reason I say that is preppers don't have the best you know, whatever reputation or whatever. Like a lot of people like to think that we're crazy and all this kind of stuff, which is not true at all. We just want to be self-sufficient. We want to be able to take care of our families in a bad time. But being that the reputation is there, you might want to purchase, like, I don't know, food or, stuff like that. Any of the stuff that you want to have stocked up before this transition happens, because this kind of currency is almost certainly going to be a programmable currency. If you listen to Larry Fink's letter, it'll at least be monitored, if not programmable. But if you look at Larry Fink's letter to the shareholders that he just released the other day, he was pretty specific in saying that this is going to be monitored for anti-money laundering and all that kind of stuff. So is it possible that you could have limits on how much food you can buy, when and where, and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I don't know exactly how they're going to implement all this stuff, but I would just say, if you plan on making some purchases, you should probably do it sooner rather than later. And there's an argument that can be made with the inflation that's going on. Having your money sit in your savings account is, you're losing money basically. So, because all the goods that we have in the United States are not going to be cheaper anytime soon. There's no question about that. Now, after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I don't know how long it'll take. Maybe only 3 or 4 or something like that. But it's possible we could have some deflation, and it could come back down. But that's going to be a while. So you might want to make those purchases. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying to go into debt to do this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you have money sitting around, you might want to think about it. All right. Let me check the comments here real quick. Sorry, I'm on this little laptop screen, and I can't see anything. Okay, I see at least one question here. Okay, Denise says, question, Nate, who's Nate? I don't know who Nate is. What is the best way to store dehydrated fruits? I would probably just put them in a Mylar bag with a oxygen absorber. That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know what would be a better way than that necessarily. And then or a vacuum sealed bag, either one would probably be fine. Vacuum sealing them, with an oxygen absorber, I think you'd be fine too. So, emergency survival tips likes pie. That's good. Okay, Julie says, could you recommend a solar, and I've got several more articles here I'll get to in a minute. I'm just going to clear out these questions real quick. Could you recommend a solar power generator that would run a TV, fridge, and things like that? I have a gas generator, but I feel the need for solar power in these times we're currently in. Thank you. So I think that My Patriot Supply has one. You can check those out if you go to the link realitysurvivalfood.com. And then if you decide to buy one of those, I'll get a little bit of the commission there, just in full disclosure. However, I've never used theirs, so I don't know for sure. I've heard good things about the EcoFlow Delta. I know that the Kodiak Energy, the Gen 1 that I had, works really good. I would assume that the newer ones still work well, although I don't care for the company because of how they treated their affiliates and how their customer services. Let's see, EcoFlow Delta, I've heard great things about. Blue Yeti, I think, is another one that I've heard good stuff about. So that's what I can give you. Jackery, I think, is another company that I've heard people talk about. But again, I've only got the one. Well, actually, I've got a little small one. It's like an off-brand one. I don't even remember what name it is, but it's not very big. So yeah, those are the ones that I would probably shoot for. Yeah, Jared says the Russians are claiming they never really wanted to take Kiev after spending millions of dollars and losing thousands of lives just outside of Kiev. Yeah, that's it's clear that they've changed their goals, but it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to say, okay, look, they're willing to pull back and to not take off so much at once. But it doesn't seem like we're seizing on that opportunity, and that's kind of weird to me. Emergency survival tips says they're going to need to have Will Smith go slap Putin. That is funny. Let's see. Somebody here says the 4 Patriot solar generator is good. They got the 1800 and they like it. That's cool. Okay. North Carolina farmer, what's going on? Yeah, I do have a video on packaging rice and all that kind of stuff. Thank you, Emergency Survival Tips. So for whoever was wanting to know about the dehydrated fruit, you could check that out. Jared, I'm not saying necessarily that government will be monitoring you. I'm just saying that the way that people are talking about it, that's kind of what it seems like to me. Sheila asks if our money will be worthless. No, I think they'll do an exchange. Most likely they'll do a 1-for-1 exchange, probably. That would be my guess. I have even postulated in the past, I don't even know if that's the right use of that word, that it might be possible that they could conceivably do some sort of a debt jubilee in order to basically buy people off on this new conversion. Because if it's global, I mean, if it's digital, if it's fully digital and they're starting over, you could just add as many zeros as you want. It wouldn't matter, right? It's a full faith and credit of the government. The military is still intact and all that kind of stuff. So it would be easy to do that. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that would happen, but I could see that happening in order to buy off the public to accept it. Morris Venture said he just bought a bunch of fertilizer. That's probably smart because fertilizer is going to be hard to get. Dustin says, any experience with DE that isn't food grade? The only thing I use DE for, which is diatomaceous earth, is for like pests and stuff in my chicken coop. And I don't think it's food grade, but the only thing I know about it really is you don't want to breathe in the dust and all that. So make sure you wear like a mask or something. Okay, let's get back to a couple of the let's get back to a couple of news stories here. You guys, your comments are hilarious. Okay. All right. Can I move this? This little bar is in my way. Hang on here. I'm going to try to move it if I can. Oh, there. Good. Move that. Okay. Oops. Oh, come on. Son of a bitch. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So the next one here is Farmers on the Brink. This is again from Zero Hedge. Essentially what this article is talking about, and I'll have the links to all these things down in the description below after the live stream is done. Essentially what this whole article is talking about is the fact that we were just talking about this, the prices of fertilizer and all that kind of stuff, as well as the fact that Belarus is a major producer of potash. Natural gas is used for the production of, I think is it the nitrogen? Yeah, the nitrogen. And I don't remember where else the phosphorus was from. But essentially, all the elements that go into making fertilizer are going to be basically off the market or reduced in a severe way in the near future. And so what that means is that, especially with the wheat production and all that kind of stuff in Ukraine coming offline, you guys have probably heard people talk about this. Over the next year or two, when you think about planting cycles and harvest cycles and all that kind of stuff, at the minimum, there's going to be a severe wheat shortage. So North Carolina farmer, you might want to be planting some wheat. You probably get a pretty penny for it here, pretty soon. Now, I think we grow plenty of wheat here in America. I don't think that's a big problem. We export it and all that. So it's not likely that we're going to have shortages here in the States, but worldwide, it's going to cause all kinds of shortages. And where that comes into play for us is that the supply chains break down because wheat is used in just about everything. So lots of different kinds of foods that are made in different parts of the world all over the place are probably going to get shortchanged, and they're not going to be able to make all their production runs and everything like that. And what that means for us here is that some of the finished foods that we import, we're probably going to see some shortages on some of those things. I don't think that there's going to be any big term food shortages here in the States because we have the capability to produce and grow basically everything that we can here. But I do think it's real likely that it's probably going to be some spotty shortfalls over the next 24 to 48 months, something like that. And maybe it's less than that. Maybe, hopefully it's less. But it really does make sense to stock your pantry. And so hopefully that drives that point home. Okay. Next here, Elon Musk is giving serious thought to launching a Twitter rival platform. I think this is cool. I think it shows that it's a little bit of a travesty that we have, the digital ghetto, basically, where, certain people can't say certain things, or you kind of get, shadow banned and censored and all that kind of stuff. But I think competition is great, and Elon seems to do everything he touches kind of turns to gold. However, I will say that I was hopeful about Trump Social, but their app sucks. Like it's terrible. It signed up for it, been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then today I get the notification, hey, verify your phone number. So I put in my phone number, I hit, send me the code, and it sends me a code. I get the code, I put it into the block, and it won't verify. And I'm so irritated. I tried it tons of times, reinstalled the app, tried it again and again and again. And what happened is that their field for where their verifying thing has a parentheses for an area code. And so you put the first three of the verification code in there, and then it puts parentheses around it. Well, when it sends it to the company, it's not reading just the 6 or 8 numbers. It's reading those parentheses also. And so it's giving it an error message. And I'm like, just irritates me. I wish people would get stuff right. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because I thought it was kind of cool. All right, let's see here. Al Jazeera, obviously be wary of what information says and all that kind of stuff, and where you get it from and all that. The reason I wanted to bring this article up, I thought it was interesting because Israel is having a historic summit starting, I guess it was yesterday, with the participation of top diplomats from the United States and 3 Arab states. So I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was, what was it? UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco. This is a big deal, right? And this is all based off of the Abraham Accords, which is what Trump got put in place and everything like that. But it's not so much important to me about the fact that they're having this meeting. That it's more about the fact of why are they having the meeting. And to me, the why behind this plays right into the deglobalization that we've been talking about and that Peter Zehan has been talking about. And the fact that Iran is probably going to experience much more liberal. They're gonna basically loosen the reins on Iran, and what that's gonna cause is that's gonna cause conflict between, because Iran is a Shia country, primarily Shia, and Saudi Arabia, UAE, Morocco, Bahrain. Well, Bahrain is ruled by Sunnis, has a lot of Shias. But anyway, all these countries are probably going to have some conflict going on in the future, especially as America pulls out of the region and isn't as involved and all that kind of stuff. And so what that means is just more long-term fuel disruptions, most likely. And I just thought it was kind of important to highlight so that you could make sure that you've got some fuel stocked up and all that kind of stuff, because the fuel situation is probably not going to get fixed anytime real soon. Okay. Newsmax article here. Oh yeah, I thought this was interesting that they're claiming that Putin is in a nuclear bunker, and I don't think, it doesn't really even matter if he is or isn't, right? Like to me, it doesn't matter, because just because a leader of a country, even if they did decide to go into a nuclear bunker, I think a lot of people are going to misread this and take it to mean that that means he's preparing for nuclear war. And that does not necessarily mean that he's preparing for nuclear war. It could just be their protocol, that's what they do, in times of war and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's quite possible that it's just policy. Okay. Okay. Let me see if I can see if there's any questions here while we got this going. Sweet and Savory Word says you can buy and use food grade diatomaceous earth in your rice and beans. Yeah, I've heard of people saying that. I've seen that Bear Independent did that, although I personally have never done it, and I would probably use it sparingly. I wouldn't get too crazy with it, because I'm sure that it probably is going to jack up your intestinal system. Morris Venture Channel is a girl. Okay, I didn't know that. Mark Chase says, my apologies to anyone in the government tasked with reading all this stuff on my computer. I know it's painfully boring. The government's not big enough for that to happen. Big data would just store it all away until you were a person of interest, and then they'd look through it. But that's funny. All right. Morris Venture Channel's getting a rain barrel next month. That's cool. Jared says that today in a CNN story, Alan Greenspan reported there's a men's underwear index that predicts a recession. That's hilarious. Sorry. All right, almost caught up here. All right, be thinking about your guys' questions. I got a few more news stories here, and then we'll be wrapping up. So if you got any questions, let me know. Sweet and Savory Word says, please expect U.S. crops to be affected by extreme weather. Right? Why is that? Why do you think there'll be extreme weather? Okay. All right, so let's go to the next story here. I think I touched on this one a little bit. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, this is from Daily Torch, warns ESG investors the Ukraine war is causing increasing oil and gas supply that will slow the world's progress towards net zero. Basically BlackRock saw that deglobalization is happening, or they figured it out, and they talk about it in the article there, or in his address, and they realized that cutting out all of the oil companies out of their portfolios is probably going to be a bad idea over the next few years. So they're walking that back and saying, hey, we're going to have to definitely invest in these things, which I think is pretty hilarious, because U.S. domestic oil production is going to get kicked back up again. It's just going to take a little bit of time. but it will happen 100% because there's going to be massive shortages overseas. And when that happens, and when the companies start really facing the crunch, they're going to turn all those pumps back on. I heard some people talking about who was it? I think it was Bear, and I think he got something a little bit wrong. And he was saying that the refinery capability isn't there to just turn back on or whatever. And the implication that he was making was that the refineries are just sitting idle now. And that's just not true. That's just absolutely not true. America is still producing a whole crap ton of oil. We're still, if not the leading producer, we're one of the top 3 producers, and all the refineries are all working all across the nation right now. It's just a matter of how much, much more production can they put through and all that kind of thing. But the good news is that fracking shale oil actually has a very short spin up time. Zehan talks about this in his books, and really it's only about 3 to 6 weeks, and they can actually start really ramping up production quick. So it's not a long timeline on which we have to deal with this energy stuff. So I think that's good news. Next one. Oh yeah, I covered this one already, so a little overlap here. Russia says the first phase of the Ukraine invasion is complete. Now they're going to focus on Donbass. Again, just an opportunity for diplomacy, if you ask me. And I hope somebody uses it. Oh, okay. This one was a good one. Details of Biden's new billionaire tax don't match the name. So essentially, I'm going to find out. Where's the section I wanted to read here? Okay, this is the part that I wanted to read. The document also said the tax will eliminate the ability for unrealized income of ultra high net worth households to go untaxed for decades or generations. What they want to do is they want to tax unrealized profits. Okay. So, and they're saying it's just going to be on billionaires, but you can 100% guarantee that that is going to get lowered to millionaires and, 100,000aires and even thousandaires before long, because that is a massive source of tax generation that the government has never had access to in the past, and they want to have access to it in the future. And my recommendation to all of you people is contact your congressman and let them know that in no way would you ever be willing, and I don't care what party you're with, it doesn't matter, right, left, middle, independent, green, whatever, I don't care. Contact your representatives and say taxing unrealized income is a non-starter across the board. So what they want to do is, let's say that if you invested whatever $1,000 into Tesla stock, which it's not very much stock at the prices it goes at, but and then in a year or so, let's say the stock triples in price, and now you have $3,000, but you still own the stock. The government would then say, hey, you just made $2,000 on that stock. You owe us tax on $2,000. But then the day after you pay the $2,000, the stock drops down to, half of what it was, and now it's only worth $500. Well, the government's not going to give you your money back, but you just got taxed on it. And that's criminal. It's criminal. And it's no way that it's okay. The same thing would be if you bought a house for $100,000 and in a year or two it was worth $200,000 and they taxed you on it, and then the housing market crashed and now it's worth less. That's crazy. You can't be expected to pay tax on something that you haven't actually gotten the profit from yet. That is so outrageously criminal. It just irks me to even think about it. But anyway, so I recommend that you guys contact your representatives and let them know that that is not okay. Okay, those are all the news stories that I had today. How long have we been going on this thing? Have we been going a while? I don't know. about 35 minutes. All right. If you guys got any questions, throw them in here. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quick. Let's see. Just trying to see something here real quick. Hopefully it's still going. Just want to make sure I'm still, am I still live? Okay. So, all right. My internet connection is awful. I had like 14 megs upload and like 3 megs, no, 14 megs download and like 3 megs upload. So I don't even know if this thing's still working. All right. Jared says he's 100 air. So Jared, yes, he said, do you have downloadable spreadsheets for food storage? Yes, I do. You can go to americanpreppingacademy.com, look in there's a lesson on food and how much food it takes for 1 year for a family of 4. That's basically 4 million calories. And that sheet breaks down 4 million calories. And it also gives like more than 100 different kinds of food and the shelf life of each food and the caloric value and all that stuff. It's pretty detailed. It took me freaking forever to get it all figured out. All right. Okay. With all the lies Biden has told, do you really believe that he will not raise your taxes? Oh, no, I'm sure he will raise taxes. I'm sure he will. The IRS is not monitoring $600 transactions at banks right now. They tried to get that passed, but it didn't pass, and they're not doing it right now. Just so you know, sweet savory words. All right. Well, I think that's it, guys. I don't want to keep you guys on here too long. We'll try to do another one on Wednesday. If you guys have any interesting articles you'd like to discuss or anything like that, you can send them to me at realitysurvival@protonmail.com, and I'll be happy to take a look at them. And other than that,